Hi guys, my name is Sam. I spent a year taking Modafinil for CFS, and here is what I've learned and why I stopped. First, the key points I want to talk about are what the drug does, how it affected my symptoms in a good way, the side effects, and the reasons I stopped taking this drug, who I think this drug might help, and a summary of my thoughts on this drug. So modafinil is a central nervous system stimulant that is used specifically in narcolepsy to treat daytime sleepiness as well as sleep attacks. So the positives for me while taking modafinil were that it sped up my processing speed and reduced my brain fog a huge amount. I have had tests done by a psychologist that found that my processing speed since I got CFS has dropped to the bottom 5%. So I really struggle with getting information across quickly, keeping up with conversations, and when I started taking modafinil, it made a huge difference. I was more talkative, I felt clearer in my head. My mum said that I came across as a brighter, more energetic person, and that was really satisfying. The second positive was that it really helped my motivation and energy levels. So when I initially started taking modafinil, I felt like I could do a lot more. I was motivated to get things done. I started organizing things that I'd meant to do for months. I decluttered my bedroom. I reorganized different storage in my house. I was even doing small amounts of DIY work, hanging things on the walls and stuff, which I just hadn't been able to do before. So that was a really nice boost, and I thought it was kind of a miracle to begin with. It was too good to be true, almost. I was doing all of these things and not really crashing afterwards, but that changed over time. Initially, another positive, my mood really increased while taking the modafinil initially, and I think that was because I could do a lot more and I felt productive, and I really thought this was going to help me in the long run. So I was in great form for months, just on top of the world, so happy I had found it. That made a huge difference to my life. So now the side effects. The main side effect with modafinil is because it's a stimulant and wakefulness enhancer, it can be hard to get to sleep. You have to take it very early in the day because it can last up to 16 hours in your system. So for people dealing with insomnia or trouble sleeping, I would not recommend this drug. I am lucky that I sleep quite well with my ME and it didn't interrupt my sleep too much, but I had to take the drug very early or else it would. The second side effect that I noticed was that I found it very hard to rest. So when I tried to lie down and clear my mind or watch TV, my body wouldn't sit still. It was fidgety, it was just dying to get up and do something. My mind was similar. I just kept thinking of the next thing I needed to do, my next task, and that made it really hard to rest like I needed to with my ME. So that was definitely a major downside. So the reason that I stopped taking modafinil is because over the year I was on it, my health began to slowly get worse and worse. The amount I could do without crashing was getting lower and lower. The initial positives were too good to be true. I think what was happening was that the drug was hiding my crashes from me, allowing me to feel like I had more energy and do more, and then also hiding the fact that I felt so terrible afterwards. So what I was doing was doing too much every day and getting a minor crash that I didn't realize I had. So over that year, it was a really slow decline, but within a few months, it kind of became clear. I kept convincing myself that it was just a blip. I had done too much recently and that it would turn around, but I started to realize that it was the drug, and I started to try and rest more while I was on the drug, do less, but I still found it really hard to rest, and I think I just continued to get worse, which I can't believe I took a year to realize the damage it was doing. I just couldn't cope with the idea that I'd done this to myself and that the drug was no longer going to be an option for me. I tried taking it every second day for a while, but I would feel really bad on the in-between days. I would just feel drained and more crashy, and it was a really hard time. So I should have come to the conclusion quicker, but I just was in denial, I think. So who this drug might help, in my mind, is ME patients or patients with chronic fatigue that suffer mostly from fatigue and brain fog, but don't get post-exertional malaise so much. So if those are your main symptoms and you don't crash easily, or you are very good at pacing to avoid a crash, then this might be an option for you. The second group that I would recommend it for is people who have ME, are not super sensitive to a crash, and may need to be clear on certain days, like a bit more energy, say you're going to the doctor's office. If that is you and you need to be able to get your words across clearly and effectively with energy, it might be an option to take this once every 2 weeks or something, so your body still has time to rest, but you get one very productive day, which may cause post-exertional malaise, but sometimes you don't have that option, like going to the doctor or going into hospital or an important meeting or needing to read some research or something. So those are the two groups that I think modafinil might benefit in ME. I hope that gives some of you hope. So in summary, I think this drug is powerful, it's a stimulant, and you need to kind of remember that. People that benefit from, say, caffeine and other stimulants, this may help them. My subtype of ME, I think, is not benefited by stimulants in the long run. I need to kind of relax my nervous system. I do better with drugs that help with easing, with drugs that slow down your nervous system. And I just also want to say, be careful if you do try this drug or other stimulants like Ritalin, Concerta, Vyvanse. Just be wary that, in my experience, it can hide crashes from you. It is a weird feeling. You think you're alright, you might feel slightly off, but if you don't take the drug the next day, you're in a crash. So just be wary. These are powerful medications that can override your brain in certain ways and cause problems for people like us that have post-exertional malaise and have a limited energy envelope. So I hope that helps. The last thing I wanted to say was that I am not a doctor. I am a patient. I have taken this medication, but this is not medical advice. Do not take this as medical advice. I am not qualified to be giving that. Thank you. I hope you liked the video, and I hope it helps someone.